Natalie Kunsman, MD, and today I'm going to teach you how to pick the best fish oils. As a reminder, fish oils are needed for fetal brain and nervous development, so of course we need that while we are pregnant and while the infant and the toddler is developing. So obviously fish oils are imperative for optimal brain health, and that of course gets attributed to a lot of the DHA component of the fish oils. So our ocular health, so our eyes, our retina, our corneas use fish oils for optimizing health. And then of course we all are becoming aware of the cardiovascular benefits of fish oils, in particular mitigating some of the effects that the triglycerides and the sugars have on our cardiovascular system. The EPA component of the fish oils most times is used for some of our inflammatory conditions, and in particular we're talking about joint and arthritic related conditions. So you can see there's a vast possibilities and necessities for our bodies to use fish oils. So how do I advise people to pick their fish oils? Well, the name of the game of fish oils is keeping them pure. So obviously a lot of fish make fish oils. That's what they are composed of. But not all fishes are created equally. So the bigger the fish, the longer the half-life, the more it has the ability to pick up mercuries and contaminants in our water sources. So when we're picking our fishes, we want to go for those brands that harvest or fish in the purest of water. So a lot of times we're talking about Alaskan salmon, Norwegian salmon. Now we are harvesting some fish oils using squid, and some of these smaller squids that have this smaller longevity and the smaller lifespans. And to that note, the smaller the fish, such as a sardine and some of the small herrings, they have a very small lifespan, so they don't have enough time in the corrupted water systems to pick up the mercury. Now, for the most part, I don't recommend farmed fishes, and when you are even looking at the grocery store, you may notice that there are some preservatives put in those fish oils and food dyes, and we certainly do not want those contaminants in our fish oils. Of course, we have some brands that are fishing in those clear waters, so we have some Nordic Naturals, and a lot of times I will use orthomolecular. There is a company out of the Norwegian area that is actually harvesting those squid. So again, these fish oils, you want to see a pretty high preponderance of DHA to the EPA ratio. Typically, the average adult human being could use about 2,000 milligrams a day. And if you are eating good, clean fish from water sources, you may not need to be taking these fish oils every single day. So those particular days you could avoid the fish oils. Now, you will notice that some of the better brands for purity purposes, or if these fishes have not been in the Alaskan and the Norwegian and some of the very clean Pacific waters, you may notice a little tab on the corner of the bottle talking about distillation or triple distillation. I usually recommend going after those brands that will use a triple distillation process. So in that distillation process, the companies are going through a process to leach out contaminants and leach out some of the mercury. And mercury, unfortunately, is one of those contaminants in the poorer water sources that can get into our fishes and hence into our fish oils. So we've got the clean water sources. We have the short lifespan fishes, so we're talking about the small little fishes, and even cod to that degree has a short lifespan and doesn't have enough time to pick up the contaminants. Then we have a triple distillation process that can actually remove some of those contaminants from the fish oils. Now, fish oils many times can go rancid. So that's why you will see fish oils possibly being wrapped up in some vitamin E, and that is to help prevent some of the rancidity of the fish oil. So if you open a fish oil bottle and it smells rancid, that isn't good for you. If you get a large 1,000-count bottle of fish oil at one of the larger supermarkets and they're all stuck together and they're not in vitamin E, then we may also not be talking about a good quality fish oil. So you get what you are purchasing. Now, there are some fish oils that are not coming in a capsule formulation and they are refrigerated. They will stay as long as possible versus breaking down and having a little bit of a histamine release. So keep that in mind as well. Now, for some of the pediatric population, you will find some of these fish oils in some of the medical nutraceutical brands, and Nordic Naturals has a good variation of this, and so does Orthomolecular, where it may be put into something much more palatable for the pediatric population in gummies. But again, if you're looking at those gummies, make sure you have a high milligram of the fish oil and it's not just gelatin and sugars that are in that. Orthomolecular also has an orange creamsicle type version for kids that makes it a lot more palatable as well. So again, we're looking at 2,000 milligrams a day, and a lot of people tell me that they have a hard time digesting these fish oils, or they have what is called a high burp back symptom complex. So a lot of fish oils will talk about how there is no burp back effect, but I would have a tendency to maybe disagree with that, because fish oils are any old oil, and if you have a sluggish gallbladder or some reflux or other dysphasias or presbyosophagus, that may be a little difficult for you to manage it. So what you could do is take smaller amounts throughout the day. You could take them with food, or there is another trick that has a tendency to work where you will freeze these fish oils, and when you take them, by the time they've gotten through the stomach into the small bowel, that is when they have, for the most part, thawed out. And once it gets past the stomach, it seems to be a lot more easier to tolerate. So again, we walked through how to look for the fishes and the fish oils. Some of the better companies, again, you're going to find them in the nutraceutical companies, or you may find them at your Better Health food stores in the refrigerator section. I'll give a tiny little comment on if you are vegan and fish is not an option for you, squid is not an option for you, then this is where krill oil comes in. And krill oil is a plankton vegetarian algae source that is sourced in the oceans and extracted down. And that is a wonderful source. It is a non-animal source, but I will give you fair warning that it is not very high in the DHA and the EPA ratios. So you may have to take more of them throughout the day to equal your 2,000 milligram dosing. So again, brain, eye, cardiovascular, looking for a high DHEA. If you are arthritic and inflammatory, you may want to add a little bit more EPA. So there you have it, folks. Ways for you to shop around for the best fish oils. Again, I'm Natalie Kunsman, MD. Please subscribe to my channel below. And until we meet again, be well.